Hello. Today we're going to do the ultimate. We're trying to get to the Munar surface and back to Kerbal. That's our goal. And of course we want to do it without killing any of our little aliens. So start with the command pod, and I'm scrolling up to give us plenty of room. I'm going to pop over to the utility menu and put the parachute right on top, because again we want a safe re-entry. Under the structural menu I'm going to throw another decoupler right there, and then pop over to propulsion, and you can use this one, the FLT 400. That's all the fuel you're going to need in order to land on the Munar surface and then fly all the way back to Kerbal. You really don't need a lot of fuel to do it. I'm going to use this, the LV909 liquid fuel engine. Throw that on the bottom, and this is going to be our lander right here. I want you to go over to utility next and throw on a landing strut under symmetry mode. I'm going to do 4-way just to make sure it's nice and stable. You can do 3-way, 6-way, whatever you want. And I'm using angle snap as opposed to this type of snap, whatever it's called, because this one gives you kind of like a lot of different possibilities. If you do angle snap, you notice that it only puts the landing strut in a few different places. So I like that for whatever reason. So there we go. We've got 4 of those on. Now we're going to continue to build down. So this is the thing that's actually going to land. Right before you hit the surface, you're going to put these legs down. They're going to be out, and then you're going to slowly touch down on the surface. Oh, I forgot one thing. I'm going to take off this bottom. I'm also going to throw an SAS module on it. I want a lot of control. It's going to help with the landing. Alright, I'm going to go back over to structural, put a decoupler on like so, and then under propulsion I'm going to use this, throw it on, and maybe one more just for good measure. Throw it on, and then I'm going to use this guy right here with vectored thrust. Structural, I'm going to throw another stack decoupler on. Then I'm going to use a tri-coupler. Throw it on like so. Then a few more fuel tanks with trilateral symmetry, because we want to fill up the tri-coupler. Boom, boom. Then I'm going to throw a liquid fuel engine on. Again, this guy with vectored thrust. I'm going to go back to structural, and I'm going to use a strut connector, again with the 3-way symmetry, and this is just to help with stability. Throw it on like that. Okay, I think hopefully this guy will fly. I'm going to give myself a little bit more room here, and then for good measure I'm going to put on 3 tri-couplers and some solid fuel boosters, because why not? And how many do I want to do? That's the question. Under structural, I'll throw a few more of these decouplers on. And then I'm going to throw on another set of solid fuel boosters. And under this structural menu, I'm going to use the radial decoupler. This guy right here. I'm going to attach it way up here and put on more solid fuel boosters like that. There we go, that looks good. Under aerodynamic, I'm going to put this little nose cone on it like so. Hopefully this will get me to the moon. If it doesn't, I'll be frustrated. Under structural, I'm going to put again with 3-way symmetry, I'm putting strut connectors here on these guys just to stabilize everything, making sure everything's good. I'm going to do strut connectors here. Make sure everything's nice and stable. I'm going to put one right on top of the nose cone and then get as high as I can here. There we go. So hopefully it won't shake around too much as we're taking off. And then I guess lastly I should put some winglets on just so that it's easy to steer. That's the goal. I'm going to put plenty on. Again with 3-way symmetry, so I only have to do it once. Throw it on, and this isn't perfect, but that's okay. Alright, hopefully it's stable. Hopefully it'll get me to the moon. It's not the prettiest thing you've ever seen. but I hope it works. All right, next I'm going to clean up the staging. So you see that these 3 engines are supposed to all fire simultaneously. I actually want these guys to fire too. So if I highlight, you notice over here it's also highlighted. I'm going to click these 3 and drop them down so that all of those burn initially. So these 3 will burn, and these 3 when we start. Next, these decouplers will work, and I'm going to have them fire simultaneously as these engines start, these solid boosters. Great. Then from there, we don't want that. We want these 3 to engage, and we want these engines to engage, so I'll combine those. Check in on these 3 decouplers here. Those are those 3. So these 3 decouplers, it's these guys here. We want those to happen after these guys burn, so it's got to be in stage 7. So again, I'm highlighting those decouplers and dropping them down to stage 7. So these guys will burn, then these guys down at the bottom, and these decouplers. Let's make sure I've got it right. Yep, the ones on the side, perfect. Alright, next, these decouplers will engage, and these 3 engines will begin to burn. Those will burn for a nice long time, which is great. Then next, this decoupler will activate. Throw it out there, and then this engine will start. Hopefully, I'm hoping that this engine gets me well into Munar orbit, and then even kind of falling down to the surface a little bit, because I don't want to rely too heavily on this last fuel tank. So there we go, and then I'm also going to combine this with the last thruster, kind of condense everything down. And then I'm keeping the parachute separate from the last decoupler just because I like the flexibility of being able to choose when we want to start the parachute. Alright, let's launch, see if we can get there. Hope this guy doesn't fall apart on the launch pad. All right. And here we go. It's not the prettiest rocket, but hopefully it'll do the job. So again, as soon as it starts, as soon as the simulation starts, I'm going to press T to activate SAS. There we go. I'm going to throttle up. We don't need the throttle yet, but I'm going to have it throttled up just so it's ready to go. And I'm hitting spacebar. And here we go. Solid fuel boosters. I've got 6 of them burning. Getting me off the ground. The fins are working nicely. Uh-oh, I'm already starting to wobble. So this isn't the most stable rocket, but hopefully it won't fall apart. Yeah, we've got a lot of shaking happening. Not an ideal design. A lot of wobbling. That's okay. We're moving in the right direction. As long as it doesn't fall apart, we're okay. Almost out of solid fuel, so I'm going to hit space as soon as these guys burn out. Boom. On to the next 3. Some explosions happening. But it seems like I didn't lose anything important. So we are still going. Right now I'm actually pressing D. I'm trying to redirect my rocket to point straight up because I'm a little bit off track. You notice my velocity vector here is a little bit off of the top. So I'm just trying to make a kind of small adjustment. And it's really hard to steer. Again, I'm holding D this whole time. It's difficult to steer because these solid boosters don't have thrust vectoring, so I can't use them to help me steer. So instead, all of the steering is happening from the control pod. They've given you a little kind of RCS up there, which is for stability control. Okay, on to the next stage. I do have thrust vectoring, so now I actually can steer a little bit, which is nice. Or so I thought. So I've given up on trying to adjust. I'm just going to let it kind of go as is. And it's a bit of a waiting game. Once it gets to 10,000 meters again, my speed's pretty good. I could wait maybe a little longer, but I think I'll do it around 10,000. I'm going to start to tilt on the nav ball to try and get my rocket facing right at 90 degrees. So almost there. I'm speeding up, which is good. Again, I could even dial back on the throttle a little bit here. Might be more efficient. Alright, I've pressed T. And I'm now steering over to 90. But I'm not really sure what the most efficient would be, so I'm just going to keep it all the way throttled up for now. There we are, right at 90, and then SAS is back on. I've pressed T again. And there we go. I'm going to hit M. Here we are in the map. And I always like in the map to have the nav ball here. If you're playing in the windowed screen, not the full screen, you can actually go to full screen and then leave full screen, and then I'll make this little triangle show up so that you can open up the nav ball. So just go into full screen and then leave full screen. That'll keep the window mode, but we'll give you the nav ball. Here we go, we're doing okay. I'm hoping this fuel gets me where I want to go. Hope I have enough fuel to get to the moon. I'm a little worried about using it all up. Once we get there, once we're on track to be in the orbital well of the moon, we don't need a ton of fuel. Apoapsis really isn't increasing too quickly, but that's okay. We're picking up a lot of speed, so that's alright. Speed is good. So again, notice that the atmosphere is getting less and less thick. Yeah. These guys are not going to get me into orbit around Kerbin, which is too bad. That's okay. Still hope I have enough fuel. So again, I'm just kind of checking, making sure I'm on track on the map. Alright, hitting spacebar again. I'm on to the next stage. And hopefully this fuel will get me to where I need to go. Alright, so at least I'm going to leave the atmosphere. That's good. Again, the atmosphere ends around 70,000 meters. At this point, I could cut the engine kind of at any point, but I'm going to keep burning. See if I can get my apoapsis maybe up to 150 or so. Okay, I just pressed X to stop my thrusters. Now I'm going to zoom in on the apoapsis, and here I'm going to click as close to the apoapsis as possible to create an orbital maneuver. I don't think we've really talked about these yet. Maybe we did a little. So I'm going to add maneuver, and then if you look right here, we can then kind of plan our flight. So this is prograde and this is retrograde. Those are the only two that we're really going to worry about right now. So I'm clicking and then I'm kind of dragging in the prograde direction, and it's showing me how the orbit will be altered if I burn my thrusters in that direction. Now it's telling me how much delta V I'm going to need, so how much I'm going to have to change our velocity. And so I'm just going to keep pulling, keep pulling, keep pulling, keep pulling, and stop right there. And this should be about a circular orbit. It's pretty close, within 5,000 meters. That's fine. So again, I'm just checking our periapsis and our apoapsis, making sure we're kind of in the right ballpark. They're similar, so that's good. We want to be as close to a circular orbit as possible. So we've got some information here from the orbital node. It tells us how much delta V we need. That's a lot. I'm probably not going to have enough fuel to get to the moon. I'm hoping I will, but I'll go for it anyway. Estimated burn is 50 seconds, and the node is in about 2 minutes and 15 seconds. So I want to do maybe half of the burn on this side of the node and half on this side. So I want to start the burn when I'm 25 seconds away. Now on the nav ball, I'm just going to fly from the map screen. I've turned off SAS and I'm changing where my rocket's facing. I want to face in this direction here. That little blue cross, which has appeared on the nav ball, tells us the direction that we want to fire our thrusters in to accomplish this maneuver. So I'm getting as close to on target as possible. I'm trying to line up the dot. A little closer, that's good. activated SAS, and at this point I can warp. Again, I'm going to start at about 25 seconds from, the maneuver. So here we are, we're at 26, 25, alright, full throttle. I'm pressing shift to throttle up. Man, I don't know if we're going to have enough fuel, because we're going to need a similar amount of delta V, so a similar amount of fuel, to then change our orbit to be on an intercept course with the moon. And so hopefully I'll have, a third of my fuel left at least. Looks like maybe we will have enough. Okay, I'm encouraged by how this maneuver is going. So if I zoom out here, you notice that my orbit's slowly moving closer and closer to, our desired orbit. And so I'm just kind of, at this point, I'm adjusting my direction to make sure I'm still going in the correct direction. I'm kind of adjusting as we go. And I'm watching this, and as soon as it gets to 0, boom, I'm terminating. And now I'm just going to adjust a little bit. As you can see, our orbit's pretty good. So again, I'm facing in the direction of the... You don't have to do this. At this point, I could just kill it, but... Little thrust, little thrust. And that's good. That's all I want to do. Maybe a little more. Yeah, that's good. And then at this point, I'm going to click the node and exit out, because we're done. Maneuver's done. Periapsis 148, apoapsis 152. That's pretty good. We were hoping for a 5,000 meter difference, and we got a 4,000. So it actually was a little better than planned, which is good. All right. Next, we're going to try and open up our orbit so that it's in an intercept course with the moon. And I'll show you how to do that now. Just go ahead and click anywhere. I'm going to click here, and then I'm going to add a maneuver. And in order to get on an intercept course with the moon, we're going to burn prograde. So I'm clicking in the prograde direction. I'm going to zoom out. I'm going to continue to go prograde until our apoapsis is pretty much even with the orbital path of the moon, which is that white circle. So there, that's pretty good. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my mouse around until it highlights the circle, not any of these orbital moves yet. When you highlight that circle that represents the orbit maneuver, I'm going to drag it around, drag it around until it tells me I'm going to be intercepting the moon. Should be around here somewhere. There we go. So if I do my maneuver there, it's going to put me on intercept course of the moon. I think I'll actually hit it, which is an efficient way to do it, but I don't really care. So again, it's telling me I'm going to have 805 meters per second delta V, which is similar to the amount of fuel I needed, and I've got plenty of fuel left to do it, which is great. Okay, estimated burn time 40 seconds, great, and tells me where the node is. So I'm going to start my burn about 20 minutes before I get to the node, or 28 minutes and 43 seconds before then. So I'm turning off SAS, and again, I'm navigating, or I'm aiming my rocket so that it's facing right in the direction that the orbital maneuver desires. So lining up the dots. There we go. Alright, we're good to go. So at this point I'm warping. I'm 20 seconds away from the orbital maneuver. 17, 16, 15 minutes, 14, 13, 12. You can see the timer counting down, and I'm watching that. And then 3, 2, 1, here we go. And we are 1 minute and 6 seconds away from the orbital node. And again, since I've got a 40 second burn, I want to start 20 seconds before. So I'm going to warp till I get to 20. There we are, 20, and throttling up. There's the rocket burning. Burning in the direction of the orbit. Prograde. Ah, there's the moon. You see the orbit is slowly opening up. So the other side of that ellipse, our apoapsis, is slowly extending out towards the orbit of the moon. So at this point I'm watching our delta V climb down the meter, and I'm watching the target. You can see it's slowly starting to migrate, so I'm going to turn off SAS, and I'm going to just kind of fine-tune it, turn SAS back on. I'm just trying to keep the target right on track. Almost done. Boom. X. Alright. So I overdid it a little bit, but that's okay. I'm just going to go with that. So I'm going to zoom in, click on the node, and exit out. And there we go. We are on track to intercept the moon. I actually think we're going to hit its surface, which is pretty cool. Straighten out the rocket. At this point, I'm just going to be patient. We've got plenty of fuel left. Good, good. I'm going back to map, and I'm warping. Oh, it says the ship is under acceleration because SAS is on. So I'll turn SAS off, then I'll warp. Here we go. Oh, don't want to overdo it on the warping. Warping in. Looks like maybe we won't be actually hitting the moon surface. Maybe we will. I don't know. Alright, so here we go. We are now in the moon's gravity well. Kerbal Space Program always, whichever body in space has the greatest gravitational force on you is the only gravitational force that you experience. So now I'm in the moon's gravity well, and it looks like I am on an intercept course with the surface, which is good. Ideally, you want to land on the light side of the moon, not the dark side, and it looks like maybe I will be. It's kind of on the fence, but I'll just go with it and see what happens. The reason you want to land on the light side is because then you can actually see how far the surface is away from your rocket, which is good. And it looks like I will be. Ideally, you want to try and land on a flat spot too. I've landed on really sloped spots before, and it hasn't ended well. So I'm kind of warping in. You definitely don't want to get too close at this point, because if you build up too much speed, you won't be able to slow down your rocket enough. So I'm going to try and limit my speed at this point. So we're coming in, and I want to slow down my rocket because I'm moving way too fast. So at this point, I'm moving around. I'm going to go from the click here until I get to surface speed because I want to zero my speed with respect to the surface before we hit the ground. So you notice we're accelerating, which of course makes sense because of gravity. So I'm moving around. There's the retrograde button or indicator. So I just want to face in that direction because we want to fly retrograde. There we go, retrograde. So SAS on, and I'm just going to burn. Trying to lower my speed here. Working quite well. I'm low on fuel, but that's okay. So at this point, it's kind of a balancing act because, you know, if you lower your speed a ton, it's great, but that means you end up spending more time falling, which means you have to, which means more aggregate acceleration, which means more fuel in the long run. So it's kind of finding that balancing act. I mean, ideally, you would kind of wait till the last possible instant and then burn your thrusters continuously until you were at a really desirable speed right before you hit the surface. But of course, I don't want to take too many risks. Okay, I'm out of fuel in this stage, so I'm going to eject that stage. And I have a very responsive rocket, or lander at this point. Alright, here we go. So again, burning retrograde. That part of the rocket's just going to crash on the surface. Okay, and at this point, I'm trying to get this retrograde button to just be pointing straight up, because that means I'm falling straight down. So I'm just kind of burning in this direction. I'm trying to get the indicator to move till it's right on the vertical position. Yeah, good. Of the nap ball. That's what I want. Because that means I'm more or less falling straight down, which is good, because then I won't have to face my rocket in too many different directions. I can just kind of lock it in, facing up, and I won't have to do much. Hopefully we can just leave it there for now, which is good. If you had some RCS, which is kind of like stability control, you could use it at this point. It would be very helpful, but I don't. Alright, I'm going to lower my landing gear. If I press the G key, there it goes. It is ready to grip the surface. Alright. So I'm zooming in. Here we are. We're accelerating towards the surface, and we're 20,000 meters away. I'm going to warp a little bit. At this point, you want to be really careful. Best not to take any risks, because if you do, you're going to go crashing into the surface, and it's really frustrating. So here I'm really close. Sometimes there are peaks on the moon that are 5,000 meters off of the surface. So if you're landing on kind of a high altitude area, when the altitude says 5,000 meters, you might already be at the surface. So you don't want to get too close. So at this point, I'm going to locate the sun. There it is. And then I'm going to look opposite the sun and see if I can see my shadow. Because your shadow will kind of give you a visual on how far you are off the ground. Falling down, looking for my shadow, still don't see it. Just kind of burning my thrusters here and there because I don't want to build up too much speed. Because if suddenly I see that I'm 100 meters off the surface, I don't want to go slamming in. I want to have enough time to slow down. So I'm really just firing my thrusters again. Yeah, and then I'm going to try and make a little adjustment. So again, I want my retrograde to be absolutely vertical. There we go. Not sure how high I am off the ground. Do another burn to slow it down. Getting pretty close. So at this point we do not want to be going too fast. So coming in, still don't see my shadow. I'm not sure why not. Maybe it doesn't show up in the demo version. I don't know. Oh, there it is. See my shadow? So that'll kind of tell you how high you are off the ground. Here we go. So at this point I'm just kind of burning, slowing down, keeping it slow. Trying to come in slowly. Oh no, it's slightly sloped. Burning, burning. Coming in slow, coming in slow. Please don't crash, please don't crash. So you see we're kind of moving to the side. Ideally we wouldn't be, but there you have it. Not the softest landing, but we are on the lunar surface. Alright, at this point, you can go on an EVA by clicking over here, and you can walk around if you want. Heck, let's do that. So here we are, walking around the lunar surface. Boop, boop, boop. But I don't have a lot of time to waste, so I don't want to do that right now. But that's what you can do. So I'm going to press R to pull out my little jetpack, and I'm going to try and rocket my way back into the pod. You can also put a ladder there. Uh-oh, missed it. To kind of help you get back in once you're on the surface. Here we are. Come on, little guy. One more try. See if you can get me back up. Keep thrusting. F grabs. Awesome. And F again to board. Oh, got to climb up. There we go. Alright. Well, at this point I'm going to get off the surface. So taking off is a lot like it is on Kerbin, except there's way less gravity and there's no atmosphere, which is great. So you can kind of do your turn right away. So I'm going to burn up a little bit and then I'm going to face my rocket at 90. So boom. Just activating my thrusters. You can even pull up the your landing gear, but it doesn't really matter. And then I'm facing 90. Basically, at this point, we're just trying to get on an escape path away from the moon. And you could do all sorts of planning to try and minimize fuel use. None of that really matters to me because I know that I've got enough fuel to get back safely. So here we go. I mean, ideally, I could have even faced the other direction. That probably would have saved more fuel. But it doesn't matter. I think I've got plenty. Alright, here we go. At this point I could also stop burning and I could wait till I get my to another spot. But this is all fine. Okay, great. So I'm just going to warp. Goodbye, moon. Still warping until I'm in orbit around Kerbin. And then at this point, we could wait till we get to our apoapsis to slow down. But basically, we just want to get back in orbit, or we want to lower our periapsis into the atmosphere. So all I'm going to do is just find retrograde, and I'm going to more or less point in that direction. I know I've got enough fuel, so I'm not too worried about it. But ideally, you'd burn at the apoapsis, and that would lower your periapsis and be most fuel efficient. But I don't really care at this point. If you burn retrograde at any point, it's going to lower your periapsis. So I'm just full throttle burning, lowering my periapsis. We also don't have re-entry effects, so you can re-enter at any speed, and your rocket won't burn up. Alright, our periapsis is low enough. We are on an intercept course with the Earth. There we go. I'm just going to accelerate towards the Earth, fall right into the atmosphere. At this point, I'm even going to press spacebar and disconnect from the back. Goodbye. So the back of the rocket will also fall back into the atmosphere. Alright, I'm warping. Falling back towards the surface of the Earth. There we are. Or the Kerbin, rather, not the Earth. Getting closer and closer. And I'm in the atmosphere. Oh, not in the atmosphere, sorry. Once I get to 70,000 meters in the atmosphere. So falling, falling, falling. There we go. We're in the atmosphere. So I'm coming back in. I'm moving really fast. I'm hitting spacebar to activate the parachute. That'll come out at some point. Alright, parachute's out. So I keep warping. At this point, I'm just going to fall safely to the surface. I hope. Falling, falling, falling. Maybe it would be more exciting if I fell on the light side of the planet. There we go. Where is the surface? Oh, I think I see it. Boom! We're home! Yay! I'm gonna warp so you can see daytime. Alright. Midday the next day. Alright. So hopefully you can get to Moon and back and not crash on the lunar surface. Hope you enjoyed the video and have a great day.